Behind home plate, we bringing it to them all day. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Win or lose, we bringing it to you always. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Orange or black, we rebuild the pack. No matter where we at, you know we coming back. Section 336, we on this, so tune in. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Yeah, welcome to Birdland. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Now, here come the boys from Section 336.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Baltimore sports fans of all ages, welcome to the special edition. When was the last time, Josh, we did a special impromptu podcast?
I was trying to think when the last time was that we had to jump in and do an emergency pod. It must have been a trade deadline thing many years ago.
Yeah, I don't know. Did we do an off-season one for
maybe when Mike Elias was first hired?
Yeah. Not even any of the more recent trades?
I don't think so, because I think the timing's worked out where we've never really had to do an emergency one.
All right. Yeah, we didn't do a Corbin Burns one of these.
No.
I guess that was an off-season. We'll probably saved it for the money. All right.
I mean, I can, if you want, I can.
I remember. It's not a big deal. I know we always talked about doing at the trade deadline, and then I feel like we never made a move big enough to warrant it.
No, I know the Orioles always disappoint.
Yeah. So really, the whole purpose of this.
Here, I found it.
Yeah, when was it?
July 25th.
Okay.
2018.
Oh, it's been a little bit of ways.
What happened on July 25th, 2018? That we came in with a trade special.
That was that's not Manny Machado. That's Manny Machado before that.
That was Zach Britton.
Zach Britton traded.
Now that's not, and we also had one on March 21st, 2018, when Alex Cobb was signed. And then we had an emergency episode. Our last emergency episode was January 31st, 2024. What happened last year on January 31st?
Oh, was it the Corbin Burns trade?
No. The sale of the Baltimore Orioles.
Rubenstein.
So that was our last emergency episode.
Okay.
But hey, now we get it for Brendan Hyde to be fired.
Yeah, really, this is just the whole purpose of this podcast is for you to gloat and celebrate and sing and dance, whatever you want to do, Josh.
Right.
The floor is yours.
I'm actually shocked that it happened.
Are you?
Because I feel like I've been asking for it for years. I thought it was going to happen yesterday. And that was my question for you, is how much of this firing today happened because Brendan Hyde let Batista pitch to Wood instead of walk him with first base open?
I think it has zero to do with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think was the last straw? Just more losing?
Yeah. I mean, I think I think it's pretty simple. I don't think it's any one decision. And based on the comments today from the clubhouse, it's clear that Brendan Hyde didn't lose the clubhouse. So anyone who thinks that is wrong based on the comments.
And I agree. I agree. I don't think he lost the clubhouse. I think he sucks at putting together a lineup and sucks with bullpen management.
Yeah, the problem more than the James Wood. I mean, now, if that led to the loss, then you could say, okay, I think it's more losing to the Nationals and in general losing to bad teams and losing over. I mean, what did I call? What was the name of our last episode of the podcast? It was Hyde's Last Stand.
Yeah, it was Hyde's Last Stand, and you said give us 2 weeks. So all right, so that's why you agreed to do the emergency podcast. It's for your chance to brag that you were right. This was Hyde's Last Stand.
It felt like it, right? Because it was some bad teams. It was winnable series, and then we've lost, I feel like, every game since the last pod. And so I think this is just when you have an organization that I don't think this is about anything specific. I just think you have an organization with high expectations. When they don't win, you got to blame somebody. And so Manager Hyde takes the heat.
If you've been following Section 336 since the season started, this firing would be no surprise. Our first episode of the year was simply called The First Week. We were like, all right, we're 6 games in. Then when episode 601 was called Spin It. And remember, that was when everything was bad.
Spin the negativity.
But we spin the negativity.
Yeah.
602 was called Everyone is Bad. 603 is I'm the Captain Now. And it was about taking out Brandon Hyde and someone else taking charge.
Yeah. Well,
and then we had Punchable Face talking about Brandon Hyde and then Hyde's Last Stand. So we've been leading up to this for 6 weeks.
Well, because we've been losing for 6 weeks.
And it doesn't get better.
Right. And we kept on. I think part of us was this optimism that eventually our team is too talented. Eventually we have to start winning. It just never happened. And then we came down to this last week where kind of playing some weak teams. Surely we can right the ship. And it's not happening, Josh. And so if you're not going to, I understand. I don't think, and today is a testament to this, that this doesn't solve all the Orioles' problems firing Hyde. But if you don't fire Hyde now, when? Do you wait till you lose 100 games and then you fire him? Do you say, no, it's not his fault because the injuries and the underperformance, so you let him manage next year?
No.
And if next year doesn't go well, do you, like at some point you have to make a move because you're supposed to be better than this. Now, are we saying that this is 100% Hyde's fault? No one's saying that. But this is a team that needs a change.
I think so. Yeah. I think there's lots of problems. And I think you can put some of those things you can blame on Hyde. And someone's got to take the fall. You can't fire the players. You're not going to let the players go. And really, it comes down to Brandon Hyde and Mike Elias. And since Mike Elias gets to make the decision about Brandon Hyde, he can fire Brandon Hyde to try to save his own job.
Oh, yeah, but you think Mike Elias is feeling comfortable in his seat now? No. Once Hyde's gone, his seat starts to get warm next.
Do you think someone told Mike Elias to fire Brandon Hyde?
Listen,
because
I'm sure
Brandon Hyde was the Mike Elias cover.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I think, Josh, as we talk about this, and if you listen to the national media talk about this, and I haven't heard anyone talk about it really in the national media stage, but I know what the slant's going to be. The slant's going to be, this was Hyde, manager Hyde. It's going to be very sympathetic to manager Hyde, who went through the whole rebuild, put up with all losing. And then if you just step back for a second from the macro level, right? Step back a second. He went through the whole rebuild and then put together 3 straight winning seasons in 2022, 2023, and 2024, including in 2023 when we won the AL East. That's a lot of success for a team that hasn't had a lot of success. That's a lot of success under manager Hyde the past 3 years. And I think what the national media is going to say is, the Orioles didn't spend money. The Orioles didn't make the necessary moves. And now Hyde is taking the fall for the cheap Orioles, or for the Orioles who didn't make the moves that they should have made. And Hyde's going to be the fall guy for that.
Yes. And I think you're going to see it in 2 directions. You're going to see the classic, the Orioles don't spend money argument. And then you're also going to see the argument of Mike Elias thinks he is smarter than everyone and thinks he can do without spending money. His goal in life is to prove that he can win a World Series without spending Yankee money.
Right. Yeah, I think both of those storylines will be amplified.
And I think when you look at something like today was a great example of Brandon Hyde's not the only problem. Because without Brandon Hyde, all right, the offense put up more runs. What did we put up today? 6 runs.
But they were all kind of garbage runs. But yeah.
Yes. But
behind early.
Yes, but we did better with runners in scoring position than yesterday where we left 14 men on the base.
Okay, fine.
But at the same time, Kyle Gibson started the game and put us down 6 or 7-0 before we even got a chance to bat.
Right.
And that
is 4-0 before we got an out.
Right. 28, what was it? 28 pitches before we got an out?
Yeah.
That is where the frustration of Mike Elias comes into play, where we all knew Corbin Burns was going to be gone. And if you want to do a point for point, Tommy Segura is doing perfectly fine as a replacement as a replacement pitcher, but you need a full rotation. So to go out there and throw out Gibson and Morton, when the one thing we knew about this team, forget about the offensive struggles, because we didn't see that today. I'm focused on the pitching. The one thing we always knew is that our rotation was questionable. And that's where, as soon as Grayson Rodriguez was hurt, as soon as we saw that it wasn't working with Charlie Morton, as soon as we saw that first start by Kyle Gibson, Mike Elias should have been making some type of move. Okay. There's people out there.
Okay, yeah. I think that's stupid, though, but because Mike Elias makes a move, and because, yes, he did not anticipate his number 1 starter and his number 2 starter being injured this year. He didn't anticipate that.
No, he didn't, but it's been 2 months. It's been 2 months.
But Josh, so what? Let's say we trade. Give me Basayo for Corbin Burns straight up. Well, what's going to happen? We're going to win. How many more games we're winning? We're still under 500, and now we lost a prospect. I don't know why you want to. It's not just we're not a one starter pitcher away. There's nothing Elias could have done.
Here's what I've seen.
Okay,
I've seen the team struggle.
I think you're missing the boat completely on this.
I've seen people get hurt. Yeah. I know the boat completely is that Mike Elias did not set up to win in the offseason.
I don't think that's it either. We talked about it before the season started that this team was good.
All right, then you are focused on the injuries, and that's out of Mike Elias's control, in which case it's also out of Brandon Hyde's control.
No, I'm not focused on the injuries either.
All right, Josh. Tell me about the boat I'm missing.
Yeah, the boat you're missing is something so much larger than manager Hyde. It makes this whole discussion laughable. This entire kind of young core, this entire thing is built. We won 101 games 2 years ago, and we were like early, right? It was all these young players. The big story here is every single player not named Jackson Holliday has regressed. And what does that say, not just for this year, but for the whole thing you freaking built?
You are
like,
going.
What if the whole thing you freaking built is not built correctly?
You are going real dark.
I am. Yeah, I feel really, because I feel like it's not just, it would be so simple to say, if we just signed Santander or if we just re-signed Corbin Burns. But even if they were both here, Josh, we're still not playing winning baseball. And so what's the answer? The answer is, oh man, it's so much bigger. And maybe this is just a bad run. Maybe this is just a 2-month bad run and we're all overreacting.
I hope so.
My worst fear is that somehow Adley's not that good. And somehow some of these other players that we thought were good, and somehow Grayson Rodriguez is just going to get hurt every single year, and he's just not going to be a pitcher for us. Like maybe Kobe May was not that good. Maybe some of these players aren't that good or too injury prone to even prove it. Maybe Ryan Mountcastle, right? It's not that good. And so that's my kind of deeper worry.
All right.
And that's where my concern is, that, and it gets really depressing if you think about it that way. I mean, we went through all those. I don't want to go through another rebuild.
No.
Right? Is that where we're headed, Josh? Is that where we're headed right now? Does this team need to get blown up and start over?
If this team, if the big boat that you're talking about is that these players suck, and that these players are not
as good as we thought they were,
then at that point, I do not know how to pick out a team. If Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman and Jordan Westberg and Colton Cowser and Jackson Holliday are not a good foundation of a team, then I'm not sure what that is.
All I know, Josh,
and how you do that.
I listened to Bird's Eye View today. Shout out to the great work that Jake and Scott are doing over there with Bird's Eye View. And they had a discussion about trading. Is this the right, or would this offseason be the right time to trade Adley Rutschman? And not just like a joking conversation, like a serious conversation. Should we start trading some of these key pieces because they're just not great fits? Should we? And so I think,
yeah.
Are we at that point already? Because this was supposed to be a very large window,
and
not
remember
just this year. This is supposed to be like a 5-year.
And remember,
window.
It's not our orange glasses that we're saying 2025. Major League Baseball scouts across the country were saying 2025 is the year for the Orioles.
You can look at it up through a bunch of different metrics. You can look at people made predictions this year, last year for the Orioles. You can look at it through. They have all those if you're the top farm system in this year, 3 years later, you're making the playoffs and you're World Series contenders. Everything says that this team should be based on last 2 years. So part of me is, well, maybe we're all just overreacting, and teams go in slumps and players go in slumps. And what happens when this weird perfect storm where you have all the players slumping at the same time? It's just kind of this bizarre, weird thing. But this is not a week or 2 weeks. I mean, we're at the freaking nearing the end of May with this nonsense.
Exactly, and that's the frustrating part. And that brings us back to that's why you had to let Brendan Hyde go, because it's been way too long of this. And if it's the case that all these players suck, okay, we're gonna have to deal with that. But that's the next shoe to fall. That's not something to deal with right now.
Yeah. And so, Josh, do you expect different results on the field?
Here's what I expect.
Yeah, what are the expectations now?
I expect that these players are not bad, or I expect this team to do better. I expect this team to do better because players are going to get out of slumps, because health is going to come back with Westberg and Cowser. I do think and we've had this discussion all season and part of last season as well. I hate the way Brendan Hyde does his lineup construction. That could change now with Tony Massanello. I don't like the way Brendan Hyde manages his bullpen. That could change now. What won't change based on this managerial move is Charlie Morton and Kyle Gibson's struggles. And that's something that the Orioles need to figure out how to handle. How do you handle guys that are really struggling? How do you handle Adley Rutschman if he does not get out of this slump? Those are things that a managerial change isn't going to change. I think there's minor things. I hate that they fired their manager this morning. Brendan Hyde should have been fired last night so the players would have the evening to deal with it. Because what I do know is all these players did like Brendan Hyde.
Yeah.
So, and they take it then personally, where they know, hey, he got fired because we suck.
Yeah. It was their play that got them fired.
Play. It's if they played outstanding, it doesn't matter about all these things that annoy me about Brendan Hyde.
Yeah.
He keeps a job.
Yeah, so, I mean, if players were voting, they would vote to keep manager Hyde there.
Right.
There's no doubt.
So to expect them, so I imagine they had a lot of emotions going into today's game. After just finding out as they were because they found out basically as they arrived to the clubhouse today.
Sure, it was an emotional day, I'm sure, yeah.
So I'm sure. I will be interested to see what type of small changes we see with lineup construction and management. I will be curious about if these players get fired up a little better. You know all the stuff that irritates me about Brendan Hyde. We've talked about it many times on here, where even yesterday he was asked, what do you say to guys after a tough loss like this? And he's like, oh, I don't think there's anything you can say. Everyone knows it was a bad loss. And it's like, that's something where maybe Tony can do a better job.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to doing this podcast and not having to hear you gripe about manager Hyde anymore. That's what I'm looking forward to. But I think maybe we should have opened with this, and this is our bad. But he's had a long, no wonder the players are attached. He has had a long tenure. I mean, his tenure is longer than most of the players. Yes. I mean, he's been here since 2019.
I believe
he was Elias's first guy, kind of brought in.
I was looking. I believe Cedric Mullins is the only player that was here pre Brendan Hyde.
Was Mountcastle not on the team yet? Maybe still in the minors.
I'd have to look.
All right, that's fine. So I think Hyde does deserve a lot of credits, right? He deserves credit for putting up with terrible when we weren't trying to win, when Mike Elias was actually trying to lose, and we had to have a manager. And manager Hyde was there day in and day out, answering the call. And even though he knew he was on a ship that was sinking purposefully, he was a stand-up guy throughout the whole process. He hung in there. He kind of put in the work. And then, like I started at the beginning of the show, he had success here, and in 2022, in 2023, in 2024, all those playoff in the last 2 years, playoff teams, one division win. That is a lot more success. Like very few managers,
Yes,
for the Orioles in the Orioles history can say they've even had that much success.
correct.
So props to manager Hyde for having a long tenure here and
fourth most wins,
winning over 400 games.
Yeah, and Ryan Mountcastle's first got caught up at the end of 2020, so he was a Hyde guy as well.
Yeah. All right.
So it is. It's all these guys know. And this is also really the first year with real expectations for these players as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, we shall see. We shall see what the next what happens from here.
What do you think about putting Tony Massanello in as that interim manager? Does that tell you anything?
You know, he's never been a manager before, right? At the major league level.
No,
he's been a minor league manager. He's young. He's 42.
Yes.
So he's young. He's never been a manager before. I'm curious to see how. I mean, this sounds like a temporary move, and they'll do a full search next year.
It sounds like it get us through the season, unless he really improve. Like, if this team can turn around, he will be in the discussion for next year. But it's definitely a clear interim. Like, hey, you're not the next guy.
Yeah, I mean, this is the best. I mean, if you want the job, this is your best chance to show, hey, here's why I deserve the job. You got the rest of the season to prove that you should be the manager of the future. Josh, your boy Buck Britton was not tapped with it. Are you okay with Buck Britton not being the next man up here?
I am definitely been calling for Buck Britton. I understand with the interim role. Buck Britton, this is his first year in the majors. So give him more bench coach experience. He's now the third base coach, so he gets more control there.
Okay.
And gets to be more of a windmill type guy. But I'm okay with this because I think maybe it's let's keep the sickness off him. Let's keep the stench of this season off Buck Britton because we want to seriously consider him next year. That would be my thought.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we obviously wish the best to Matt Athelino because the better his job goes, and the Orioles go. So,
and this offseason, someone will pick up Brandon Hyde. His career's not over.
Yeah. Like I see a lot of people feeling bad for Brandon Hyde, and that's fine. Like you can feel bad for him. He had a lot of success, but you're right. He's a good baseball guy. Has a lot of connections within the game, and I think he's well respected. So yeah, he's gonna. I don't know if it's gonna be a manager job, but he's gonna be hired. I agree. Somewhere next year.
Someone's gonna hire him, and maybe another team that wants to rebuild because he is good. And when all the players have nothing but good things to say about him, that's going to help him as well with that next job.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Josh.
All right.
I guess congrats. I don't know.
I don't know if it's congrats. I hope. What do we have? One more game tomorrow, Sunday with the Nats, and then we get and then we go to Milwaukee for 3 games.
Yeah, and then Boston.
Then Boston, and I'll see you in Boston. Let's hope some stuff starts to turn around and maybe a little bit of a winning streak heading into Boston.
A guy can dream.
That's everything now is dreams.
All right.
I'll talk to you later.
See ya.